Thank you, Svava. My name is Kevin Dillman, and this is GeoGardens. Iceland is a sustainable country. This is something we hear all the time, and probably something most everyone in this room would agree with. In fact, 85% of tourists that come to Iceland view Iceland as a sustainable country. Yet, when you want to show your friends around, what is the face of this sustainability? Where is it that you take them to see it? You could probably show them the renewable energy we have here and the hydroelectric dams that are built, that are sent to electricity in order to send electricity to send to the aluminum smelters, which then pollute. We think not. And that is why we want GeoGardens to be the face of sustainability here in Iceland. And we hope to become this face through the creation of a sustainable greenhouse education center and dining facility in Hellisheiði in partnership with OnPower. This partnership comes from my work with OnPower as environmental analyst over the last year. This concept may sound somewhat familiar to you from the old Eden and Kjötgerði. An old Icelandic favorite that GeoGardens will reflect in some ways, though sadly, we're not going to have any monkeys. But we all know that Eden, sadly, towards the end, burned down. And this is not the only monkey habitat that is burned down. Every year, where once was Eden on Earth, rainforests are being cut and burned to make room for palm oil to make products like Doritos and Nutella. And these poor monkeys in forests are just one shining example of the devastation that humanity's consumption is causing. And we think that that is why we want to bring Eden into the 21st century. We see these headlines every day: global warming, glaciers melting, fires and floods, and we think that we need to set a new narrative, one in which business and the environment can coincide and thrive together. And that is why we want to provide our guests and allow them to come and see and learn what a greener future might look like. We want them to breathe it in, and lastly, we want them to taste it. We'll do this by giving them the trendy greenhouse dining experience found in Friðheimur, mixed with the educational experience and wow factor with a view found at the Perlan, while still providing the friendly green atmosphere that you could bring your kids to that Eden once provided. And we want GeoGardens to sit in the center of this. Like I said, this work comes from my work in partnership with OnPower, and they have signed a contract in support of this idea and the grassroots entrepreneurship coming from within the company. And of course, this project is going to be launched in Hellisheiði and the geothermal park that they are developing. This is a beautiful area and one in which, upon coming here, I had no idea would be so closely tied to my life. First, through a Rannís-funded grant, I wrote my master's thesis on development within the geothermal park. Then, through Orkivetan, it would become my job. Now, lastly, through GeoGardens, hopefully, it will become my life. Why have I spent so much time researching this area? It's because of the richness that this area has to offer. Between electricity, thermal energy, steam, cold water, and carbon dioxide, the OnPower is offering low-price access to these resources because these resources are often either being underutilized or emitted within the geothermal park, and we want to turn this waste into value, one of the key principles of the circular economy, as well as GeoGardens. And this is a concept of how OnPower wants to develop, but currently there's only one building standing there, Algae Innovation, which is under construction for the first full-scale facility within the geothermal park. And we want GeoGardens to be the second. And we think that with the low price access to these resources, these are the key resources needed to plant the seeds for a successful greenhouse in Hellisheiði. When planting a seed, of course, you need fertile soil as well. And that is why, through the geothermal park, which is already lot and zoned, you can already start beginning construction there. Lastly, is also, of course, the location. Located right along the ring road, over 1,500 vehicles pass this way per day, and including that this is a key bus route for buses traveling to the south and to the Golden Circle. Not to mention the geothermal exhibit itself already has over 100,000 visitors per year, and with the key profile of interest that we're looking for GeoGardens. So we think with this ideal location and this access to low-price resources, why not use Iceland's booming tourism to let such an ambitious project start to grow? And how do we see it growing? This is a floor plan that we designed for GeoGardens, and when a guest first walks in, we want them to see the sea of green that will be growing there, between the kale, bok choy, and herbs that we'll be growing using new age farming techniques. Next, they will see the exhibitional-like information sitting in front of this, where guests can learn about sustainability, the future of farming and food, and the renewable energy needed to power this facility. And then on the outside, we'll have our guests describing what they're seeing through the windows about the lava, the mountains, and of course, the nearby power plant. We'll first invite our guests to sit down in a comfortably lit beer garden, in which will be ideal for bus travelers coming perhaps from the south or the Golden Circle. Also tourists looking at day adventurers, looking to enjoy the hikes that are nearby. And lastly, for even Icelandic locals who would want to come here on the weekends for a beer, a coffee, or a bite to eat. Additionally, we plan to host sustainability and circular economy workshops here, where we want to educate our guests and to promote sustainable innovation both in and outside of Iceland. We'll also have a seating area in which will be ideal for events and conferences where guests can come, and also where guests can come and enjoy a sustainable meal with a view. A concept of this exists in London, but rather than having a view out over the city, we'll be providing our guests a view out over the lava. And lastly, this will be the last way that we promote GeoGardens. Through the development of the geothermal park, as well as the beautiful area that is nearby with the hikes, we want to promote both educational and recreational tours in the area. And while this all sounds really great, for us, this is actually, in our hopes, just a pilot for a greater vision. Hopefully, through the expansion along this area, through using this low-price resources to expand along different utilizations, we want to then create a sustainability center. We're using things like algae production, greenhousing, and beer brewing, and perhaps even taking the waste from all of these and using this waste to make green fuel for the vehicles that would then be powering our operations. We want to create a sustainability center. And this sustainability center could act as a cluster, much like the tourism cluster is supporting us today, to support green innovation in Iceland. We also think that the sustainability center can be used to launch sustainable products ready for the 21st century. An example like this actually exists in Chicago, and you can see here where one process actually feeds into another, where it's minimizing waste and maximizing value. This facility already has drawn international attention and has attracted guests just to see their unique setup, and we think that GeoGardens can take it even one step further. But who would we seek to attract? Well, of the 70% of tourists identified as eco-tourists, and the 73% of them that go towards the south or the Golden Circle, we estimate our market size to be roughly 1 million guests. We need to capture 4% of this in order to break even, and this is roughly 40,000 visitors. And we want you to realize that this is not even counting the Icelandic market, which may also even offer us repeat visitors. We also want you to remember that On Power already has 100,000 visitors per year right across the street. So how are we going to make such an ambitious dream come true? Well, our first goal will be a seed funding round, which we are currently going through. And we need this around 3 to 5 million Icelandic krona in order to get an initial prototype set up, as well as starting to partner with some strong companies such as Basalt Architecture and Gagarin to create a powerhouse team so that way we can move boldly into our next step. Because this next step is going to be the most difficult one and the one that is needed to implement. We have to this will be the large seed funding round that we are going to need in order to get GeoGardens up and running. But we expect that once operational, we expect a payback period in as little as 4 years. This is where we think that this project can become even more exciting though. Upon implementation, if successful, as I was saying, if we can then expand into the Sustainability Center, we hope to begin to scale. We hope to start creating sustainable products, which using the strong branding that this area is going to create, we want to launch these into international markets and expand even further. So as I said, we are in a seed funding round right now. And while we are looking for the initial money, we need much more than money. We're looking for partners who want to see such an ambitious dream come true. So if you have any interest in talking to us, please come talk to us at our booth after the show, and I would love to tell you anything about GeoGardens. So that being said, we have all the resources we need, the soil is fertile, and the time is right, and all we need is one little push to help bring us, like one seed amongst the many, back towards Eden.